What up, homies? This is Jungleman for RunOnce.com, and I'm going over the biggest match in poker history that was ever recorded. I'm sure there's a bigger match somewhere, but it was ultimately for multiple massive heads-up shootouts of 5 million euros each between me and Ossi Ketola. Ultimately, a final one for 6 million euros each, and streamed the biggest match ever streamed in the history of poker. And I want to talk about what was going on leading up to the match, my expectations, how this all happened, and a bunch of key hands that happened in the match, and a little bit of my thoughts in it. I can't give away everything because we might play again, but I can give away a fair bit. So it actually started in kind of a funny way. I was in Tallinn, Estonia, and I wasn't having the best day ever, and then I kind of wake up to a text of someone saying, oh, this guy, Ossi Ketola, wants to play for a 500K heads-up match. And I thought this was some heads-up superstar that's challenging me. And I didn't think too much into it, and I thought, whatever, like, this guy's probably really good. I just wasn't in the mood. And then someone tells me that I really should play this guy. Keep in mind also, if someone's really good heads up, you don't really want to play them for 500K. Especially if they really know their stuff these days. It's going to be a high variance match, and whatever. I mean, if I was in the mood, sure, but not really my thing. And I think if someone's really focusing on no limit heads up these days, they can certainly beat me. It's not my priority. I'm no longer the best in the world heads up no limit or anything like that. But anyway, so someone told me, yeah, I should really play this guy, and that woke me up, and I thought it put me in a much better mood. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm interested. And at least at first I couldn't play him. Someone else was playing him for 1 million, but eventually I got to play him around 4 a.m. And instead of 500K, it's actually 1 million euros. And I was kind of feeling it. Let's add in some more money. But people gave me a lot of different reads. They said he underplayed hands. They said he was a little weak tight, and he was not playing really that way when he was playing against me. He definitely had some bluffs in him. He definitely could float and counter some of the things I was doing. And I was like really surprised, especially since I gave him some juice. He played a bit better than I expected. So, yeah, to start off, I was very surprised, and he actually beat me the first thing. He got me good a couple times in the first match, and I was a little bit nervous, at least with having to give some kind of handicap about this. And then what happened was, well, people still didn't think it was too good. And about a week later, I end up in Barcelona after Tallinn's finished, and apparently he wants a rematch, and he's going to be in Cyprus. And I call someone else, and there's some other good stuff going on in Cyprus, and I just cancel all my plans and fly right over there. Anyway, let's get right into it. So I'll be going over just a number of the key hands, because this is quite a long match. All right, Ace-Jack, here we go. I definitely raised. Knowing myself, he must have called. Doesn't seem to 3-bet the 6-4 offsuit. Seems like he's got a good knowledge of what the timing or what the preflop should roughly look like. So I bet here. Oh yeah, I remember this hand. Okay. He check raises. This is actually a pretty reasonable check raise. He's got the 6 of clubs, 4 offsuit. He check raises. The turn's an ace. Okay, pretty sweet turn for the most part, or a really bad turn if he just has it, then it's bad. Yeah, then you don't want that. Anyway, he checks. I decided to check back. I think he's got nothing, or he's got like a 7. There's not really a whole lot else he can have. Anyway, so the river is a 9. He bets something like full pot, I think. I did not see his hand here. I would have liked to seen his hand. The people that were feeding me the information, at least at the time, did not tell me this, or I didn't check it or whatever. But, yeah. So I basically decide here that he can have the same hand. It's not a particularly large bet. I mean, he does like the overbet too. So whatever, I can beat some similar kinds of hands. It's just, as a general rule of thumb, guys, when you can beat his range or tie what he can have, you can't fold. If you can tie their value bets, no folding, guys. And obviously you can bluff too. The machine, the wizard, does not fold here. I don't need to check the wizard to figure that out. But yeah, we're not folding no ace jack right here, guys. Especially after checking the turn. And oh, he's got some bluffs, so check it out. Yeah, so that's the first clue to know. Our boy's got some funky bluffs in some spots. That's pretty important information. All right, moving on. We got some aces. That's a great hand to have in a spot against anyone. Okay, so here, yeah, so I check call. Pretty clear check call. Not much else to say with king 10. If I had a diamond, we're still check calling. All king 10 combos, we're check calling. Turn 6 can do that cute lead thing, and I guess it's okay. The machine really likes it, even on monotone boards for some reason. He bets quite small in the turn, which is actually a little uncharacteristic of him. He must have bet a 55 into 70. Pretty clear check call. There's no other line to take. One thing I do watch out for is how he splits his turn ranges, splits his turn sizes on his turn, because he has a bunch of different sizes, and typically people have various distinct patterns to them, meaning they have this or that in them, and it's not randomized, it's not totally balanced with a lot of people, which is, by the way, is a reason why you see me do some really strange things that seem like they don't make sense according to if you just study the solver and don't think about things, like make big raises against turn sizes and stuff with weaker hands. But I do such things because I'm trying to exploit them. Anyway, we may run into a couple of those spots later, but I check call here. River is a 9 of diamonds. You know what I think here? I just decided that I don't see how I'm going to win this hand, although I could actually beat ace queen in his range, but he may have a diamond if he does that. And I thought that he wouldn't think that I could bluff here. If I was going to bluff, it's... yeah, probably... I'm trying to think of if there's a better bluff. No, I don't think there is, really. Yeah, I lose to Jack 10 even if he has that. The only things I don't beat are stone air. I thought he could make some hero folds here. I actually don't mind it in retrospect. It looks like it definitely would have worked, knowing a little bit more about him. In this case, he just had it, and whatever. I just thought that this would happen to work against this kind of guy. I could theoretically have full houses too. Like, why not? Especially if he's gonna raise this in, then clearly leading a full house is the play. I don't think. I mean, I guess I could even have like the Jack of Diamonds. Why not? I wouldn't think that people tend to raise aces. He can definitely have full houses too. But yeah, I don't think the machine's probably not going to approve of my line, but I imagine it's not going to hate it. I imagine what the machine will do some cute small bet or whatever, is my personal guess, because there aren't so many bluffs in his, what he can have, and there's, I guess I could actually win if we're playing against the machine. The machine will find some kind of bluff here, but in reality, I don't really win. And the machine might view this as a good card. For shallow, it might do this, but deeper, it's probably not going to do it, just because the imposition player has sets of kings and sets of queens, but are probably shallow. There's not enough of those combos for it to matter. But anyway, it turns out that this play probably was fine. It just happened to have it. This one, I think this is more of a technical analysis one. I raise pre-flop, ace-5 offsuit. Looks like I decided to min-raise for some reason. I decide to bet, I believe. Okay, so he just folds bottom pair. I actually did not see this, but I'm glad it was caught, because, you know, these are the kinds of details that I like to pay attention to. This was a bit of a failure on whoever's supposed to be giving me the hands this part, because it means you need to fire the person who is supposed to be giving you the hands. Yeah, stuff like that matters quite a bit. I mean, clearly this just means that he's against 2/3 pot. He's folding a little bit too much. Is the idea. That's quite a big fold for 2/3 pot. But yeah, I didn't know that. I knew that in other spots he was folding a bit too much, but basically he was making mistakes in both directions, overfolding some hands in some spots and overplaying some hands in some spots, sometimes overcalling hands. But that's just a common case with all people who are learning. It's basically the case in the forever with learning, is that you make mistakes on one or the other side of what GTO is. And it also is, by the way, how it works in real life too. I want to talk about that for just a second. But basically, the better and better you get, the closer and closer to the GTO line you tend to get, or to the line of exploiting your opponents, you can say. As for the real life corollary, I would argue that people in ethics do this all the time too, especially between the balance line of basically doing something unethical or exploiting people unethically, or letting themselves get run over. There is a line between those two. It's not very easy to master that line. And I think people actually cheat that line a lot. Matter of fact, someone suggested I should in a spot I don't believe is fair in negotiation, where I personally believe that you should. We're going to move on in a second, but I personally believe in negotiation. Actually, what you should do is just state what's fair, and you both are supposed to go to what's fair. But it's not what people do. They try to angle and try to say, oh, this or that. I mean, I don't think a lot of that's ethical. But anyway, moving on to poker, which I presume you guys want to hear more of. I did get a really big hand here. There are a few things to gauge from this hand, even though I don't think it's really worth that much discussion. I 3-bet kings. He's got ace king. I've been 3-betting a fair bit at this point. He decides to just move in. First thoughts are he may not have a 4-betting range when he does this, so I suspect he's a little bit more vulnerable to 3-bets anyway, but there is the fact that it's a shootout, and theoretically I want to not do too many high variance things. He wants to run it once. Also, that's not ideal. I should want to run it as many times as possible for the sake of the shootout, but that also maybe just doesn't give a shit about the money. But it either means that or he knows about the shootout factor. Anyway, I do win the all-in. What a surprise. And it doesn't change the match that much, I think. I don't really get tilted from these kinds of things. I get angry for a second and it just goes away. Live focus is a little bit too slow for me to lose any equity. Online, if it happened like 5 times in a row, I might be rattled a bit. You may want him to play a little higher, that kind of thing. They want people to try to get unstuck. Like, often that's the case of what happens. All right, here it's a limped pot. For some reason, I limped. I min raised. My bad. Okay, so I min raised. He calls king 4 offsuit. All right, here we are. I got nothing. He's got nothing. I could bet here for sure. This is gonna be a mixed bet on the flop. I decided not to bet. If I was gonna bet, I'd probably pick 25. That's 2/3 pot. The turn's a 10. Still goes check check. We both have nothing. River's a 6. I decide to go for a little cute overbet. Just it's not GTO, but you can bet 3/4 pot at GTO. The wizard will probably not mind some overbets of some kind of size. That would not surprise me, especially considering his range should be weaker. I should have, we should have a decent amount of similar hands of strong value. You can still check raise. You can still have like a trapped 9x. The machine will have some trapped 9x. People really don't. And the way he was playing, he would not have a trapped 9x. I could actually bet bigger and see if he just calls enough with that. It's not the easiest in the world to call versus these larger sizes, especially if you bet like 110%. And sometimes I like to check if people are calling such sizes, or if I think they are, I can also bet really thin. I could have maybe even bet like 3x, a pair of 3x for such a size, if people's ranges are not totally balanced according to GTO, which they're often not. Well, they're almost never not. But if people do trap the appropriate number of 9x or whatever, pocket fives, which I don't think he was doing, then they can exploit me in some kind of way. All right, so we got another hand here. He raises the 3-2 suited. I got Jack 8 offsuit. What's he gonna do? This hand would have been too weak to call versus a C bet. You want some kind of backdoor draw or something like that. So now I got not a great hand to bluff with, actually. I don't think it really depends on what kind of hands he shows up with here. He should have lots of kings. Even with the way he plays, he does have lots of king X. But against this size, he's got to call more than kings or be exploited. We both have a board. And he has a really annoying decision with a 3-2 offsuit. In this case, you should have... I'd have to check exactly wizard in the spot. I don't know, every single spot heads up. But in order to not get exploited, he probably does have to call sometimes with hands that chop against my size. I do a slight overbet again. He would surely have to call with at least most queen X. You pick the queen X before the chop hands, I would think. And, if he has all loads of king X, that should be probably okay, is my guess. But it's hard to know, exactly against these sort of random sizes I'm using, 110% or so. I know it's not GTO, but I'm just guessing that he's not folding. He's not calling enough. But if he starts calling out too much, then now I can use a larger size with king X, etc. Because he definitely doesn't have king X beat. That one's a very unique spot. Important to note is that with 3-2, he did not bet flop or turn, which isn't so crazy. That's probably one of the better hands to bet on the flop, especially with the 2 in the hand and some of the cards blocking my weak XX, which may like the hero call a lot of normal size bets. I already knew that he was using some of his bluffs, or quite a few of his bluffs, as delayed bets. That's not really a secret. He was a little bit more on the passive side when it came to C betting. But it's not such a huge surprise. He had such a hand he could have taken aggression with, and just chose not to. Moving on. Got another hand. He opens the 10-7 offsuit. And no, he limps it. I decide to bump it up. King 6 suited is totally reasonable. So I check. He checks back. I check. Again, I have not a great hand. He checks. River is a 10. Oh, I remember this. I think this is a case of him overplaying hands. This is such a strange bet by him. He bets 50,000 into 70. And, not loving it. He can have a lot of things. He can have 9 offsuit or something, or 8-7 offsuit or whatever. And I guess he can have 10x also, so I just decided to call the king 6. Theoretically, he could have a king 2 and just think it's good, clearly. So folding would have been a big mistake just because of what he showed up with. And just combinatorically, he just doesn't have to have a queen. So a big thing against guys who are not really advanced, or how should I say, pros, or are learning various games, is you don't want to fold hands that are too big, because they may think that they've got the best hand in a lot of spots and overplay a hand. It's a pretty important principle, and you have to, at least when facing large amounts of aggression, you have to remember how strong your hand is versus what where you are relative to the possibility of hands and your absolute hand strength, and not exactly according to the line they use because there's a decent chance they overplay hands. All right, we got another hand here. I got the 8s, pocket 8s versus his 8-5 offsuit. And he calls, I min raise. Not what we're looking for. Ace of queen on flop. We got 2 8s. Not what we're looking for. Let's check. But not too many cards that hurt us more, really. And then the river's a king. It looks like he decides to bet. What's he going to bet? What size? That I don't remember. I think he bets like a smaller bet. If he bets a smaller size, he's may have less hands than you might imagine. He bets 60 into 40. Okay, so combinatorically, if he decides to bluff a lot of the things that just can't win, I can't fold this. Even though I really don't have a great combo. You want to have a king or a pair. But combinatorically, if he decides to bluff loads of things that just can't win, it's an easy call. Because it's not that easy to have a 10. We don't need the solver for this. Go check it out later. That would be something to look up if you really want to know what your stuff is for heads-up matches. And then you would look up this spot and look to see what size he has to be such that it's indifferent with lots of your bluff catchers, especially Jack and King X, etc. Well, probably mostly King and Queen X's are a big part of your check back range to see what size that he's supposed to bet to make you indifferent with those kinds of hands. That would be something that would be important for heads up if you're like playing at the pro level. But most people are not playing that perfectly. That's a bit of a rare sight unless you're playing at kind of the top level. And so, yeah, he's just bluffing too much. If he has 8-5 offsuit, guys, not the bottom of his range, probably not the GTO bluff, and we got him. We owned him. I raised pre-flop with the King 2 of hearts. Pretty good hand. He's 3-betting a lot. He 3-bets me. He's got ace-jack. Reasonable hand. And I decide to call. And I flop a flush draw. That's a great situation, guys. Or at least usually it's a great situation. It's not a great situation if you bust, though. So we're liking it. Here's a good spot. Yeah, so he tanks, he checks. Yeah, his hand blows. He's got no blockers to the flush draws. He's got just some random ace-jack high. Not great. He can win. Not a great situation for him, man. I decided to check for some reason, but it's fine. I can do things like that. It's not really a great barrel hand with the 2 hearts in it. But, yeah, I can do such things. It's fine. It's not going to 100% bet versus a check anyway, and it can definitely play as a good delay bet, and it can trap if he decides to overplay hands on flush boards, and I can do a lot of cool things with it. Anyway, so he decides to bet the river for 325 and about 600. You know what I was thinking here was, does he have enough bluffs with 6-7 suited, 8-7 suited, 5-6 suited, things like that? Do they bet the turn? I'm counting. I'm also thinking if he goes for a check raise with those hands. I don't really. Well, he might do that. And the thing is, part of those hands have flush draws, which is a bit of a dilemma because he has to go for check raises to now bluff a lot. What about like 10-8? I would think he bets that at some point too. So I'm just like kind of running through the combos, and I wonder to myself, can this guy have like ace high and bet too thin? That actually was part of my thought process here, even though it sounds a little bit ridiculous. I had seen him overplay hands before, and as you guys have seen, he's done that even in the session. So I decided maybe I just win with, and he thinks he has the best hand with something like this, or ace-king. And so, yeah, if he's betting hands like this and ace-king, even though they're not good enough to value bet, I think, then I can't fold such a hand. It's really the bottom line there. Again, you have to go to the absolute value of the hand and see if that's good enough in terms of a neutral perspective for how much money's in the pot to call. This is where you actually do use GTO and just make a GTO call. GTO doesn't fold there. because the hand's too high up in your range. But yeah, so that wraps up the first part of this video. Let me know what you guys think. I can go through some wizard sims if you like, or some of the spots, or we can trust my rough analysis. But we can go more in depth if you want. This hand didn't exactly perform as a wizard match, but it was somewhat close to the GTO. It was not. Some things were close to what you need to do when you're playing a machine. The GTO still matters, of course, as I always advocate if you're trying to exploit someone, which was often the case here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Any feedback in the comments, let me know. This has been Jungleman for runonce.com. See you guys later.